Yo guys, what is up? It is MasterDavros here, bringing us here a commentary regarding Warzone Firefight. And Firefight did actually announce last Friday in the previous community update that there will be more updates coming to Halo 5 Guardians, but they'll be on a less frequent scale as we were used to before. In other words, they wouldn't be releasing every month, maybe every second month, or even third month, or whenever they feel like it. But what they did confirm would be coming these updates includes fixes, tweaks and changes to Warzone Firefight, which is actually no surprise. Warzone Firefight is the most ambitious and biggest part of a Warzone Firefight update itself. It is basically the only multiplayer PvE mode including Halo 5 Guardians, and which is available in matchmaking. And so yeah, of course they wouldn't want to give up on it. They definitely want to tweak it and improve it so it kind of reaches its maximum potential. The idea of it is really good in my opinion. I really like Warzone Firefight. It's definitely a different change of pace in the PvE modes. I like how it's not some normal horde mode which we are used to in many other shooters. This is a different sort of take on the PvE mode, so I kind of like the idea. But in this video I'm going to highlight some of the changes I would like to see in Warzone Firefights, and there's quite a lot of time, and by the way they are listening to the fan feedback on Warzone Firefight and how they can further improve. So if you have any ideas on how to improve a mode, why don't you just go on forums and tell them yourselves, or Twitter even. But so here are my changes. They're not in any particular order here of importance, but we're just going to be mentioning here, and also there's going to be an honorable mention as well, which I'll be talking at the end as well. So I hope you guys agree with some of these points here, and if you want you can add your own points in the comment section below if I missed anything out, or you can discuss these more points in detail if you want as well. So starting off here with a list of the changes I would like to see to Warzone Firefight, let's talk about the new Warzone Environment Attack on Sanctum, which is featured in Warzone Firefight. I feel like Attack on Sanctum, in my opinion, has the least variety of objectives on the map compared to any of the other Warzone maps. All the other Warzone maps, in my opinion, well, actually I would say is a fact, definitely have more objectives and variety included. Now, what I mean by this is that Attack on Sanctum, if you look at the first two rounds, what do you always see? What do you actually always see? 100% chance rate. You see, round 1, you have to kill the elite pathfinders. And then round 2, you always have to kill the 3 Knight Marshals. This has been 100% always the same case for me. I'm not sure if it is the case for you guys, but I'm pretty sure this is not normal, and I'm pretty sure that all the other Warzone maps have a bunch of different objectives for every single one of the rounds. And apart from Attack on Sanctum, the first 2 rounds are always the same to me, so I want Free Industries to address this issue and add different objectives to the first 2 rounds, mix them up a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the objectives including your maps. For example, killing some grunts in round 1 rather than killing the pathfinders would be okay, or even something else, whatever they can come up with. But the point is, I want to see more variety in Attack on Sanctum in the first 2 rounds. After that it's okay, there is variety in the last 3 rounds, but the first 2 rounds it is predictable now. You don't have a surprise, you don't have to wonder what is coming up, because you know what's coming up and you can be prepared for it. It's easy, and plus it kind of makes it more repetitive in my opinion. So moving on to point 2, which I'm sure many of you guys agree with, bullet sponge enemies. Now we're not just talking about bosses here. I think bosses are actually okay to be bullet sponges, because they kind of want to force you to use the rec weapons to take them out, and which is basically the point of Warzone Firefight's mixture of recs and the regular firefight of objectives. But bullet sponge enemies. So for example, if you move on to round 4 and 5, or any round, you have all these knights and soldiers, for example, which take a bunch of hits pretty much, and you have to use quite a lot of bullets to actually take out the soldier's armor, to take a little headshot on him. Same goes with the knights. You have to pretty much put a whole bunch of ammunition into his weak points, and I think they're even more beefier than the legendary versions of themselves, which makes them really annoying in round 5, especially if the knights have incineration cannons. So if you're rolling on a tank trying to destroy the bosses, you have these knights in your ways, a whole bunch of them in incineration cannons, and they shoot at your scorpions, for example, and they're going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and you need to take them out before you want to pursue you on your quest. And by the way, if you destroy these night battle wagons, it's gonna take you up to 4 to 5 shots sometimes to destroy them on these high rounds. And while you take your time to destroy them, they're gonna be probably killing you, or at least dealing a high amount of damage to your tank. So that's not really nice. So I think they should reduce the health of some of these night targets, so it's not as punishing for the players. And then of course the amount of night incineration cannon units. There's a whole bunch of them in some of round 5s, and that's a little bit unfair because they can just pretty much, if you have a gang of them, they're just going to be destroying you more than the bosses themselves, which is quite ridiculous. Okay, so that's done as well. So moving on to the next point, you have the inability to hijack vehicles, like non-boss vehicles. We're not talking about boss vehicles, like I just said, like normal unit vehicles. This is not actually a hugely important point. It's not the end of the world if they do not change this. However, enabling hijacking, like in a campaign, of just normal regular vehicles would actually make things a little bit more fair for a player and a little bit more interesting as well, and definitely would make life a lot easier if you could hijack some of the banshees in the sky or the ghosts, so you could use it against them. Next point, making the wreck enemies more powerful, well, wreck weapons, sorry, more powerful. For example, you don't see many people calling in a high-five rocket launcher or a heartseeker, do you? You see most of the people using vehicles, they're big vehicles like the tanks, wraiths, banshees, mantises, even phaetons to deal with all these hordes of enemies. You don't see them calling in like the heartseekers, so maybe they could make wreck weapons more powerful against these heavy units like the knights or even the bosses. So I would definitely like up the power on some of these high wreck weapons, such as the heartseekers, Tartar's Gavel, whatever you can think of, to make them at least more powerful, so you can actually use them and make them as formidable weaponry as, for example, you would expect them from regular Warzone. So I think they should make it like the wreck weapons definitely more powerful, so you don't kind of waste them. So once you actually call them in, you can go in a huge killing spree like you would in Warzone. I would like to see that. So I think, for example, the Heartseeker should be able to take out some of these big knights in about one shot. To be honest, that's a way that will definitely fix the problem there of people not using wreck weapons too often. So moving on to the next point, aimbot enemies. Now you see a lot of enemies with aimbots, especially in the high rounds. So you're in a tank, for example, or in a banshee, and you want to kind of go in a sweeping airstrike to destroy some enemies and attack the boss as well. But it's going to be quite hard if you got a bunch of incineration can knights, or even other enemies with suppressors, for example. They can shoot you across the map, and some of the incineration cans are going to be keep tracking you. It's kind of hard to lose track of the incineration can bolts, so they're going to be hitting you and putting a lot of damage, plus making it more frustrating. I've been really frustrated, and I don't really use air vehicles too much in Warzone Firefight unless it is a Phaeton or a Banshee Ultra or Banshee Temple with more health. But apart from that, they pretty much wreck you in round 5. And if you're using a Wasp, good luck to you. You're going to be going down pretty soon if incineration cans target you. So I think they need to reduce the aimbot, or at least for range on some of their weapons, because they can, if they spot you across the map, they can shoot and it'll target you. Well, not quite across the map, but from a ridiculous range at least. So I think reducing the range, or at least reducing the aimbot effect of the weapons, would make things at least better. Now moving on to the next point, which is actually not a huge deal. This is an easy fix. This one is an easy fix. So if we defend objectives, they need to give you a little warning before the round actually starts. So for example, if a previous round ends and the next round is going to be a defend objective, they need to highlight the armory or the area of where the core is going to be at, so you have a chance to move in there, so the enemies don't get a head start you. Because for example, if you're across the map in March and Stormbreak, and the objective is going to be the East Armory, and you have to defend it, and if a round starts and if you're on the other side of a map, you're going to have a hard time. Well, it's not going to be as fair for you, because the Prometheans or the Covenant are going to be spawning right outside the armory, and they're going to be charging right in, and you're going to be losing quite a bit of time on the armory, or the meter will go down, which is not too friendly. So I think this is an easy fix. Just give you a little red glowy warning, and why not? That'll be pretty helpful. Now the last main point which I have, I think it needs to make Warzone Firefight slightly more recruit friendly, and I don't want to make it too easy, don't worry on that, but there need to be some recruit friendly options. And I'm talking here about Rex. So of course we know that recruits, they won't have the best Rex in the world at all when they join in the game, and that makes it people not really wanting recruits to be in Warzone Firefight. And Warzone Firefight is kind of a casual mode with difficulty on it. So I think you need to give recruits some free Rex in-game. I'm not talking about free rec packs, because they could just take the rec packs and run away with them to play normal Warzone, for example. And that's not a way to do it, but if you'd like, for example, join in-game, and during in-games they give you, the game itself gives you a free random rec weapon of a high rarity, or a free, and 2 free rec vehicles, like 1 rec level 4 vehicle or 1 rec level 6 vehicle. That would definitely help to recruit out and at least make them more useful in the higher rounds, especially round 5, rather than just standing there spraying the enemies with a BR. So that'll definitely help them more out a little bit. And now for the honorable mention here, I would say adding new objectives once in a while. So they did say they're supporting Warzone Firefight, so maybe they could be thinking of adding new objectives, like a different set of objectives, maybe some new boss sets to keep it more interesting, and maybe some new type of objectives. Currently we have defend and hunt or eliminate type objectives. Maybe we could have an escort type objective where you have to just escort a high priority target to a given location without it getting killed. Or maybe a capture objective where you have to storm an enemy infiltration, or like Fortress, for example, march the storm, right? Take the enemies out and then take a core, for example, kind of paying homage to the invasion mode from Halo Reach. Now, yeah, these are pretty much all the changes I would like to see come in Warzone Firefight sometime. I hope you guys agree with some of them, and if you have anything else to add, you can add it in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time.